Hello, my dear students. My name is Dr. Amit Tomar. I am Senior Assistant Professor in Department of Physics and Astronomical Sciences, Central University of Jammu campus. Today, I am here to present a very important video lecture regarding your CUET entrance examination in physics. The today title of my video lecture is Gauss law and its application, and we cover this topic in part 1 and part 2. In part 1, we discuss about some basic physics regarding Gauss law and take some simple example, and in part second we will take some advanced example. So let's start with part 1. So here is some outline, and first I read this outline one by one and discuss later on in very explained manner. So in the first PPT we have to evaluate the electric flux through a surface given the electric field. The second one is related the electric flux through a closed surface to the total charge inside and outside the surface. So basically, before we have to start about what is Gauss law, what is physics behind the Gauss law, we have to discuss about the different charges, different type of charges. So basically, charges are in two form. They are in the continuous form and they are in the discrete forms. So as you see in this PPT, we have a first figure and we have a simple charge q, and we just have a dotted ellipse or circle regarding that. This imaginary part is known as Gauss surface, and it has to be drawn around the particular charge by which we have to find the value of the electric field. So first of all we have to discuss about continuous and discrete charge distribution. As you see in the PPT, we have some black dots in the bottom. These black dots we have count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and basically these are the individual charges. So this is a discrete charge distribution, and on the left hand side of the PPT we have just see a continuous body. It is not just like a circle, it is like a maybe it will a cylinder, maybe it is a solid sphere, maybe it is a solid sheet of metal. So these are the continuous charge distribution, and the formula for continuous and individual are work in some different manner. So first of all we have to keep that in mind, what type of charge distribution we have to find the electric field. So if we have a continuous charge distribution, we go through the different mathematical formulations, and if we have a discrete charge distribution, we go through the some different type of mathematical formulas. So it depend upon whether which type of charge distribution we have in our question, whether we have a continuous and whether we have a discrete. So first of all, we have to draw a imaginary surface around that particular charge, from which we will find the value of the electric field. So Gauss law is responsible to find the electric field from discrete law, discrete charge distribution and continuous charge distribution both. So in other words, Gauss law applicable in both type of charge distribution, whether it is a continuous or whether it is a discrete. It is always useful and very important. So now we move the next PPT. So again in this PPT, just you see different type of charge surfaces. In the left hand side we have some symmetric systems, and in right hand side of the PPT we have some without symmetric system, or you may say that symmetric systems are those systems about which we have knows everything, like the formula of the area, what is the formula of the volume. As you see in the this two figures, we have a solid sphere and solid cylinder, and in both the case we have know every mathematical formula regarding what is the area of the sphere, what is the area of the cylinder, what is the volume of the sphere, and what is the volume of the cylinder. But in right hand side pictures we don't have any information regarding particular area and particular volume. So it is very difficult to solve the integration or the mathematical formulation which we have to face to find the electric field with the help of the Gauss law. So if we have some symmetric surfaces like we see in the this PPT, then symmetric surfaces, it is very easier to calculate the electric field by Gauss law because it is easier to solve the mathematical equations which we have in Gauss law. In another case, if we have some surfaces or some bodies which we don't know about anything about the mathematical area and mathematical just volume of the particular surface, so it is very difficult to solve the mathematical equation which we have to face regarding solving the Gauss law. So keep that in mind. The symmetric surface always make very easier to find the electric field by the Gauss law. So this is another PPT regarding calculating the electric flux. So here we have a one new word, electric flux. So before to start with the basic physics with the Gauss law, first of all we have to discuss about the electric flux. What is the electric flux? First of all, the definition is very simple. Electric flux is the number of electric field lines that are passing through the surface. And its formula phi E equal to E dot A. So this dot is the not simple dot, it is the scalar dot, and this E is stand for the electric field in vector form, and A is the area vector. So these are two vector quantities which is connected by the scalar product, and after removing the dot we have a E A cos theta, where theta is the angle between vector E and vector A. So our answer depend upon the angle between E and area vector A. So now again we have to come the original question, what is the electric flux? Because it is not as simple as you see in the figure. Because electric flux means the, if we, let us say we explain it by a simple example. If we have a hollow cylinder or a hollow circle or hollow sphere, then we have a charge inside it. Then this charge is a stationary charge and it generates the electric field as its nature. The electric field or electric lines of force is moving away from the positive charge and it comes towards the negative charge. So if the charge is positive, then electric field of lines is, or the direction of the electric field move away from the charge. So the closed surface encloses the charge have electric flux, or electric flux is the total charge enclosed by the closed surface. In another word, we have to say that electric flux is directly proportional to or directly furnishes the information about the total charge or net charge enclosed by the surface. Here we again use a new term, net charge. What is the meaning regarding net charge? It means that if we have a closed surface regarding, we have some charges like one is a plus q and another charge is a minus q. So these two charges enclose inside the hollow sphere, and someone asks what is the flux through the sphere. So answer is a zero. Why answer is zero? Because these two charges counter the effect of each other, and we have a net charge which is equal to zero because we have a plus q charge and equal magnitude minus q charge, and we have add up these two charges and the results come out to be zero. So electric flux furnishes the information how much net charge enclosed by the particular closed surface about which we want to find the electric field or electric flux. So electric flux giving us the definition, giving us the amount of charge enclosed by the that particular surface. So if the any surface have a charge 1, that is q1, let us say example charge q2, so we just add up q1 and q2. So the answer is that the net charge is q1 and q2, and after this we have a definite value of electric flux. So keep that in mind. Electric flux means the total charge enclosed by the surface, or in some other definition we have to say that if we have some surface and the charge, we have to put the some charge, let us say charge q outside the surface, and this charge generates the electric field, and these electric lines of forces entering the particular surface from one side and leaving the surface from other side. So the number of entering the electric lines of forces and number of crossing leaving the surface electric lines of forces are same. So the electric flux through the surface is again zero, because the surface has no charge inside it. So keep that in mind. If we have to find the electric flux, then definitely the closed surface have to some net charge inside it. Otherwise, the answer is zero. Now move further. So here is a another surface, and as you see, if anyone asks what is the electric flux through that particular surface, the answer is zero, because the surface is no net charge inside it. So enclosed charge q enclosed is zero regarding this surface. So the answer comes out to be zero. So now here is some solved example, so that you understand some better way. So as we have a term in first our formula, that phi equal to E dot A. The A is the area vector which is perpendicular to the particular surface from which we have to find the electric field. So in a closed surface, if we choose the direction of the area vector to be pointing away from the polyhedron, as you see, we have a simple formula, vector A equal to A, n is the unit vector which shows the direction of the this area vector, and it comes out to be perpendicular to the that particular surface from we have to calculate the electric field. So now move further. So here is a some simple example by which you just understand. So we have a three surface 1, 2 and 3. So if we have a surface, we have a length and breadth formula, and the area of a surface is length into breadth. So the length is 2 meter. So we have area is 4 meter square. So for surface 1, the direction is comes out to be k. As you see, it is by mistake we have just type a wrong direction. So for a surface 1, the answer is 4 meter square k, because the perpendicular direction is goes to in k direction or z direction. For surface 2, the answer is 4 meter square. Sorry, for surface 1, the answer is 4 meter square I, because as you see in the xyz direction, the perpendicular direction of area vector regarding surface 1 is in x direction. So that's why we are choosing I. If we are taking surface 2, then we have a direction is in 4 meter square z direction k. So this is a misprint. So keep that in mind. The direction of surface 2 is in direction z. So answer is 4 meter square k unit vector. It represents the perpendicular direction to the z direction, or k unit vector. For surface 3, we have a 4 meter square unit vector k. The answer is wrong. The correct answer is in surface 3, the area vector is perpendicular to the surface. The direction comes out to be y direction, and the answer is j. So in in the for second surface and second surface 3, the answer is interchange. So the correct answer for surface 2 is 4 meter square unit vector k. Why we have taken unit vector k? The area vector is just goes perpendicular out, just go perpendicular, and it is in the direction of Z, we take a reference. It is example. We may have a x direction, we may have a y direction, but the direction is always perpendicular to the that particular surface. So for surface 3, the direction as per our figure given to be y direction, and the unit vector comes corresponding the z. So for surface 3 we have a 4 meter square j, and surface 2 we have a 4 meter square k. So you make some corrections. The first answer is 4 meter square I. So these answer corresponding to the our reference axis x, y, z, which we have taken in a figure. Now hope you understand how do we calculate the area vector before we found the electric flux. So here is again a very nice PPT regarding electric flux calculating. Electric flux is the number of electric field lines that are passing through the surface. Keep that in mind. Electric flux is the number of electric field lines that are generated by the particular charge which is enclosed by the particular surface. These are electric lines of forces which is generated by the charge which put inside that particular surface from which we have to find the electric field. It is not the electric lines of forces which is generated by the charge which put outside that particular surface from which we find the electric field. So keep that in mind. In figure, these are the dotted arrow lines which is generated by the charge which is put inside the electric field. Here is some solid green shape which represents the area vector. It is perpendicular to the surface, and the formula comes out to be phi E equal to E dot dA. This formula comes in the form because we are taking the continuous charge distribution. So now again some mathematical formula, mathematical definition regarding electric flux. It is represented by the phi E equal to the integration vector E is scalar product dot dA is the area element vector, where dA equal to dA dot n. If we remove the vector from the top of the A, we have to add a unit vector. As in previous PVT, we are discussing I unit vector, J unit vector, and K unit vector. So we are taking the particular direction which is perpendicular to that surface, then the answer comes out. So for uniform electric field, we have a uniform electric field means the electric field is constant. That's why in left hand side the formula is comes in the form phi E equal to E dot integration dA into unit vector n. As we remove the vector, so unit vector here comes, and E comes outside the integration, because uniform electric field means E is constant, and the term which is constant we have to move outside the integration. So again some formula phi E equal to E dot dA with the scalar dot product. Don't confuse with that. It is not the simple dot, it is the scalar dot product, and we have the answer phi equal to EA cos theta, where theta is the angle between vector E and vector A. For non-uniform electric field, in the right hand side of the PPT, we have the formula phi E equal to E perpendicular dot dA. In this, the electric field comes inside the integration because it is not constant. That's why we are not taking this outside the integration. So keep it inside the integral formula so that we have to calculate the exact answer. So this is the main difference between the two formula for uniform electric field and for non-uniform electric field. So again a very nice PPT regarding calculating the electric flux, and after discuss this PPT you all definitely understand what is the electric flux. So let's start. As you see, we have a three cases: case 1, case 2, and case 3. And basically, we have to calculate the electric flux, that is phi E. For this, we have to calculate the angle between area vector A and the direction of the electric field, capital E. Let us take first case A, in which the angle between area vector A and electric field is 0. They both are parallel, and area vector A and electric field both are parallel to each other, so they don't have any angle between them. According to our formula, phi E equal to EA cos theta. Here theta is 0, and we all know cos 0 is the maximum value 1. So this is the maximum value of the electric flux that's come out to be EA. So if the angle between area vector and electric field is 0, we have the maximum electric flux. So now move to the case second. In case second, we have a some angle between area vector A and direction of the electric field E, and the answer comes out to be phi E equal to EA cos phi. Here phi is the angle between area vector A and direction of the electric field. So in case 3, we have a 90-degree angle between area vector A and electric field direction. So according to the formula, electric flux equal to EA cos 90, and cos 90 is 0. So if we have a direction of the electric field is perpendicular to the area vector, then the electric flux is 0. So now I think you all understand very well what is the meaning of electric flux and how do we calculate the electric flux, and how do we calculate if we have a different angle between electric flux and the angle between electric field and area vector. So keep that in mind. This cos phi term comes out only because we have a scalar product E dot vector A, and after removing the scalar product we have a EA cos phi, and so the answer of electric flux depend upon the angle between electric field and area vector. So to get a maximum flux, so we have a same direction of electric field and parallel direction of area vector, and if we have a perpendicular direction of electric field and area vector, the answer comes out to be 0. And if we have some angle intermediate between 0 and 90, the answer may vary according to the value of the phi. So I think we have explained in a very broad manner what is electric flux and how do we calculate the electric flux if we have some different angle between electric field and area vectors. So here is another solved example. First, I read very carefully the each and every words. After that, we discuss the answer. A disk of radius 0.10 meter is oriented with its normal unit vector n at 30 degree to a uniform electric field E. So basically, this is the angle between the electric field and the area. So here we have a value of theta is 30 degree. So here is the magnitude of the electric field, which comes out to be 2.0 into 10 raised to the power 3 Newton per Coulomb. Since this is not a closed surface, it has no inside or outside charges. That's why we have to specify the direction of n. So this is a continuous charge distribution. What is the electric flux through the disk, and what is the flux through the disk if it is turned so that n is perpendicular to E. So you know very well, if the n unit vector means the direction of the area vector. So for B option, we have a answer 0 because the theta is 90 degree. So electric flux is 0 when the area vector and electric field is 90 degree angle between each other. So part C, we have what is the flux through the disk if n is parallel to E. So this is the maximum value. If we have n is parallel to E, area vector is parallel to the electric field, we have a maximum value of the electric flux. And for option A, the answer is that for intermediate angle, let us say 30 degree, we have to found it by a very simple mathematical application. So hope you understand this PPT. This sold example is very nice. So now again a very nice PPT regarding discrete charge system. So as you see in this PPT, we have a electric flux and enclosed charges. So in these two picture, we have a one picture on left hand side and one picture on right hand side. In figure which have a left hand side, we have a plus Q charge and it generates the electric field which is shown by the red arrows which pointing away from the plus Q charge. As you all know, electric field direction move away from the plus charge and it moves towards the charge if the charge is negative. So that's why we are shown the away moving electric field of lines forces by red arrow, and in second picture this red arrow comes towards the negative charge. So E points out of the surface, outward electric flux, and in the right hand side picture we have a E points into the surface, that is inwards electric flux. So electric flux here only generates by the charge which is enclosed by the closed surface, and the both the surface have a single charge inside it. So these two figures definitely have the electric flux because they have a net charge inside these closed surfaces. Again, a very nice PPT regarding calculating the electric flux with the help of a net charge. So we are discussing here are three cases in which there is zero net charge inside a box, but the presentation of each and every figure is different, but the answer is same for all the three cases. The answer is zero, but the reason is different. So let's discuss it. In case first, we have a figure in which we don't have any charge enclose it. So the answer is very simple. If charge enclosed by the surface is zero, so electric field is zero. No more need to discuss. In case second, the case is interesting one. We have a two charge, plus Q charge and exactly the same magnitude minus Q charge placed some away distance, but inside the same surface. So in this case, we have a some arrow moving outside the surface and we have some arrows moving inside the surfaces. So the arrow which moving away from the surfaces generates the electric field because of plus Q charge, and the arrow which moves towards the closed surface generates the electric field by the negative charge. But if you calculate the total charge inside the surface, the net charge is zero because these negative and plus charge counter their effects and the net charge comes out to be zero. So the charge is here, but the net charge is zero, so flux is zero. So in case 3, if we have some uniform charge sheet which place outside the closed surface and the electric field generated by the uniform charge sheet just entering the surface from one side and leaving the surface from another side. So as we have discussed in some early PPTs, if the electric lines of forces comes from outside electric field, outside generated electric field, enter in a particular surface from one side and leaving the surface from other side, so no net charge inside it and the number of field of lines of forces come from one side and leaving from other sides are same in number, so the net flux is zero. So in case 3, if we put some charge outside the closed surface, the contribution of this charge in the electric flux is again zero. So keep that in mind. Those charges which are outside from the closed surface contribute nothing in the electric flux of that particular surface from which they are outside places. So the electric flux only and only comes out when we have a charge, net charge enclosed by that particular surface inside it. If the surface don't have any charge inside it, so electric flux is zero. And if we have some charges, say plus q charge, 2 plus q charge, 2 minus q charge, so by adding these charges, the net charge is zero, so electric flux is zero. I think you understand better way by this PPT what is the electric flux and how do we calculate it. So this is again a PPT regarding some main point. The net electric flux due to a charge distribution inside a closed surface is independent of the size and shape of the closed surface. This PPT is very important, and this points is very important regarding your CUET entrance examinations. How? Because the electric flux depends only and only how much charge, how much quantity of charge enclosed by the particular closed surface about which we have to find it. If the shape is circle, if the shape is sphere, the electric flux is same. So it depends upon the charge enclosed by the surface, not upon the shape and size of the that particular surface which contain the particular charge. So in these two picture, we shown that the picture one, we have a small surface generates the same charge, same flux, and the same charge put in some bigger surface, the electric flux is the same. So basically these two charges are same, and we just change the size of the surface. So by changing a small size by a bigger size, so the answer comes out to be the same. So by putting a charge in a some small sphere of radius say r, the answer is same if we put the charge to another sphere of double or triple radius. So shape of the closed surface and size doesn't show any effect on the net electric flux generated by the particular surface. So here is again some pictures for your more clarification that the net electric flux due to a charge distribute inside a closed surface depends only and only on net charge inside it. We have a two picture. On the picture which we have a left hand side, we have a two charge inside the closed surface, charge plus q and charge minus q. So the net charge is zero, so the flux is zero. But in the right hand side picture, we have a 2q plus charges. So we have an electric flux. So now you understand how the electric flux we have to calculate by discrete charges. So here is another solved example for calculating the electric flux. A cylindrical piece of an insulating material is placed in an external electric field as shown in the figure. The net electric flux passing through the closed surface, that is cylinder. So first of all, I want to explain this question in some other words. So this is the case we have discussed. Basically, this is a cylinder which don't have any charge inside it, and if we have to put some charge outside the cylinder, and that outside charge produces the electric field, and that electric lines of force is crossing that cylinder. So what is the flux through the cylinder? So as we all know, the charge which is outside the particular surface contribute nothing towards the electric flux of that particular surface. The answer comes out to be zero. Hope you understand this question in better way. So here is some another example. So we have a uniform electric field, that is vector E equal to 2i plus 3j plus 5k that is the uniform electric field, is inside on a flat square sheet lying on the xy plane. If the length of the side is 3 meter, what is the absolute value of the electric flux through the sheet? So the answer is very simple. The answer is 45. So you just calculate it by the simple mathematical calculations. So now we comes in the original topic about the expression of the Gauss law and its mathematical formula. Basically, by Gauss law, we are able to calculate the value of the electric field by calculating the electric flux, and electric flux is directly proportional to the net charge enclosed by the closed surface. This is the qualitative statement of the Gauss law. So, by Gauss law, we are able to calculate the electric field by discrete charge system or by continuous charge distribution by the simple formula E dot dA equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. So, basically, this is a point charge inside a surface, and if we want to calculate the electric field by this particular charge configuration, then we have to draw a imaginary surface, that is a Gaussian surface, which is shown by the dotted chart, and the radius of this surface is capital R. It is the radius of the Gaussian surface. So consider a point charge plus Q placed at the center of a spherical Gaussian surface, which is drawn to calculate the electric field. So E outward and perpendicular to any point on the Gaussian surface. So the answer comes out to be in the form of E equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught, and the term where we have a 4 pi epsilon naught r square. So it is the area of that particular circle. So the original formula is phi E equal to integration E dot dA. So E is a constant, comes outside. The area is the 4 pi r square equal to epsilon naught upon epsilon naught. So phi E equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught, and epsilon and phi E is the electric flux, which is calculated by the formula which is shown in the PPT, phi E equal to E dot dA. So I just want to explain it in some other way. Basically, the basic formula of the Gauss law is phi E equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught, and phi is the electric flux, where Q upon Q divided by the epsilon naught. Epsilon naught is the electric constant, which is have some constant value. So here we have a Q, which is a charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface, which is drawn by us around the charge, which we have to find the electric field. This is shown by the dotted circle in the PPT. So we have a formula phi E equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught, and basically phi E is found by the integration E dot dA. E is a constant, comes outside, and dA is the area of the sphere. It is a 4 pi I square. So here is a where is the answer come out to be E equal to Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught upon R square. So now hope you understand from where 4 pi r square come. It is the dA area vector term of the our imaginary Gaussian surface, and E is the constant and Q is the charge enclosed by the this imaginary surface, which we drawn around this positive charge Q, from which we have to find the electric field. So as you see, the basic formula of the Gauss law, phi E equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught, though the flux is independent of the R. So flux is depend upon the charge enclosed by the surface. Again, we have a example. So the total electric flux phi E depend upon the just what is the value of the charge enclosed. Here is the answer is Q. So phi E, that is electric flux, is independent of the radius of the sphere. It directly depends upon the charge enclosed. But the electric field do depend upon the radius of the Gaussian surface, because we have a formula electric field E equal to Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught R square. So after calculating the integration, we have some radius term. So electric field of that particular charge which it generates, and by the Gauss law we have to find the electric field do depend upon the radius of the Gaussian surface. So keep that in mind. Electric flux is independent of the radius of that particular Gaussian surface, whether it is a cylinder, whether it is a circle or a sphere. But the electric field always depend upon the radius of the surface. Keep that in mind. These two parameters are different. Electric flux is independent upon the shape and size of the surface which we have to calculate the field which contains the particular charge inside it. But the electric field do depend upon the radius of that particular surface which we have in our question, whether it is a cylinder or whether it is a sheet or whether it is a sphere. So as we know, the sheet is independent of the radius. So keep that in mind. Electric flux is independent of the shape and size, only upon the charge enclosed, and electric field do depend upon the radius of the particular surface. So here again we have a two concentric circles which have a charge q, and radius of a small circle is r, and radius of the large circle is 2r. So in both the case, the charge enclosed is q. So the answer is same for the both surface. So we have a two sphere of radius r and 2r centered on the point charge plus q, which is shown by the green dot, and the same number of field lines is, so the flux is same for both the circle. It is always shown in previous question. The flux is depend only and only charge enclosed by the particular surface. So here we have a two surface, but the charge enclosed by surface of radius r is q, and again the charge enclosed by the surface of radius 2r is again q. So electric flux is same for radius r sphere and radius 2r sphere. But if we do found the electric field, so the answer is changed. The electric field of a small surface have some different answer, and electric field for larger circle, a larger radius sphere have different answer, because electric field directly depend inversely proportional to the radius of that particular surface. So keep that in mind. Electric field do depend the value of the radius of the sphere. So electric field for a sphere, these two sphere are different value, but the electric flux is same for both the spheres. So this is again point charge inside a non spherical surface, or we have some irregular surface. For irregular surface we have a formula phi e equal to integration, this is the again closed surface, E dot dA equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught. All this formula holds for any shape and size. Now here need not to discuss much things, already we have discussed in very broad manner. So basically this is again, if we have a minus q charge, then the answer comes out in the form of minus q enclosed upon epsilon naught. If the enclosed charge is negative, that is minus q. So this is again a formula hold for any shape and size. So if charge is positive, it is q enclosed upon epsilon naught, and if charge is negative, it is minus q upon epsilon naught. So here is again a point charge inside a non-spherical surface. Basically for irregular surface, and if we have a no charge inside the surface, then electric flux is zero. And this picture shows very clearly. In this picture, we have put a plus q charge outside the particular surface, and the electric field generated by the outside charge passing through one side and leaving through another side. So it contributes nothing to the electric flux of this closed surface. So this figure shows that the charge, if we put a plus q charge or minus q charge outside any surface of regular or irregular size, the answer is same. The electric field of lines is comes entering from one side and same lines leaving from other side. So the net charge enclosed by that surface is zero. So the answer is zero, and this formula holds for any shape and size. So basically, this is a some general form of Gauss law, and in this figure we have two pictures. In one picture we have a one charge, and in second picture we have a n number of charge, that is q1, q2, and qn. If we want to calculate the electric field generated by these charges, first of all we draw the imaginary Gaussian surface around the charge for which we have to find the electric field. So these Gaussian surface, imaginary Gaussian surface is shown by the green dotted circle. So the charge enclosed is calculated by a single add up these charge individually. So charge enclosed for the right hand side picture is q1, q2, and q3, and so on. How many number of charge we have depend upon that. If we have three charge, that q enclosed is q1 plus q2 plus q3, and accordingly we have to calculate e1, e2, and e3 individually, and we then sum out these three electric field, four electric field generated by the q1, q2, and q3 charge, and we simply calculate the electric flux by calculating the q enclosed by the closed surface. So here is some differential form of the Gauss law. So this differential form is very important regarding Maxwell equation, which is we will not discuss here, but you just take a general idea what is the differential form of Gauss law. So basically we have a term like E dot dA equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. This is the basic formula of the Gauss law. So Q enclosed in term of the charge density, we have Q enclosed equal to integration rho into d tau. Here rho is the volume charge density, that is charge per unit volume. In a particular volume, how many charge we have? So rho is the charge density equal to charge per unit volume. D tau is the volume element, and by the simple mathematical equation, we have a E dot dA equal to del dot E into d tau in integration. I am reading the first line of the Gauss law is an integral equation, but we can easily turn it into a differential form by applying a divergence theorem. So by the divergence theorem, we have a simple formula, and the equation which is phi E equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught, or E dot dA equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught. Though now we have a differential form del dot E equal to rho upon epsilon naught. Here rho is the volume charge density, and del is the differential form, that is del vector, and E is the electric field. So keep that in mind. It is the another form of the Gauss law in differential form. So here need not to discuss this much more that. Now the end session of the PPT comes, that is question and answer. So we have some solved question for you. The first one is the which of the following is not true. So first of all, you have to read very carefully one by one. So we have the all answer, and read one by one which is true. But the question is which is not true. So keep that in mind. We pick the answer which is not true. So in this question, the three options is correct and one option is not correct. We have to pick which is not correct. So a charge outside the closed surface will contribute nothing to the total flux of the that surface. So yes, it is the true statement, but the answer we have to choose not true. So this is correct one. So we don't choose that. So the B is the charge outside the closed surface will contribute to the total flux. So this is wrong. The charge outside the closed surface will contribute nothing. So this is the right answer. But we have to read all options. The flux through any closed surface is measured the total charge inside. Yes, it is correct. The flux E through any closed surface S is measured the number of field lines passing through S. Yes, this is correct one. So the statement which is not true, the charge outside surface will contribute the total flux. As we know, total flux depend upon the inside charge, not outside charge. So the integral form of the Gauss law through any surface, that is the integration E dot dA. This is dA, by mistaken it is d theta. Hope you understand. So now you assume that here d theta is the area element. So it is correct one. So E dot d theta equal to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. As you all know, this is the exact form of the Gauss law, and the rest is not true. So the answer is A. Now the electric flux through any closed surface S is given by. So you know very well phi E equal to E dot dA. So A1 is correct answer. So Gauss law of any closed surface is given by rho in volume charge density. So this is again the differential form of the Gauss law which we have discussed. Del dot E equal to rho upon epsilon naught. So this is the right expression for the differential form of Gauss law. Note that this dot is the scalar product. So now this is all about the first part of Gauss law and its application. In this part we have taken some simple example, and in second part we have taken some advanced example of Gauss law. So I hope you understand now better way physics behind the Gauss law and its application to find the electric field from different surfaces which contain the charge. So keep watching this video lecture again and again. Keep listening again and again so that you understand better way. By listening one time or two time, you don't get proper information. So keep listening number of times so that you understand better way. Now wish you all very best of luck for exams. Thank you.